Zootopia Plus is a show on Disney Plus that's a spin-off to the film Zootopia that nobody is talking about because Disney didn't bother advertising it.
We're very, very stupid.
Honestly, between this and the lack of marketing for Strange World and Disney CEO Bob Chapek's recent statements regarding animation, it's pretty clear how subpar that Disney views their animated projects at this point. But I watched this show hoping that it would be a fun prequel series to a movie that I got a lot of enjoyment out of. I'd still probably call Zootopia one of my favorite Disney movies, and while it's a little disappointing for this not to be an actual sequel to this movie, I wasn't opposed to the idea of it taking place during the events of the film. As long as they were fun, charming adventures in this world that were able to stand on their own. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this show was massively underwhelming. It's not awful, but the fact that we waited over 6 years to get this show only to end up with this, yeah, it's a massive disappointment. This is the part of the review where I'd normally give a summary of the individual episodes, but I think they're all on the same level of quality for me, having equally positive and negative things that balance each other out. So I'll mostly be going over my general thoughts, both positive and negative, and then point out specific examples when necessary. One thing that I did like in this show was how the episodes were organized chronologically based on the events of the original film. The first episode is Judy's parents trying to catch one of her siblings that ended up on the train that she rode to Zootopia. And the last episode explains why the sloth, Flash, got pulled over by Nick and Judy at the end of the film. So it does make the show at least feel cohesive. It also has a handful of funny moments, and some of the episode concepts that they come up with are really cool. Like this otter having to wait tables for Flash and his girlfriend during crunch time, or the tiny Arctic shrew episode being filmed like a reality TV show. Duke Weaselton sings a musical number in episode 3, and the song honestly isn't that bad. Okay, now for the not so great stuff. One thing that got on my nerves here was how sloppy some of the connections to the original movie were. Having the show take place during the events of the film means that the people working on this show needed to write their way around them, meaning there's a lot of limitations that need to be made if you don't want to break continuity. But the characters in this show are thrusted into those events in a way that often comes across as forced. For instance, in episode 2, the Arctic shrew has an emotional falling out with her cousin after she thinks she'll ruin her wedding. How does she handle this? By going to the exact same target where she gets saved in the movie. What an incredible coincidence. Same goes for when Chief Bogo and Clawhauser auditioned for Gazelle's talent competition. I loved these characters in the first movie, and it was really wholesome to see the two of them decide to have to audition together, despite Bogo's reluctance. Yeah, it turns out all of that was just a dream, because it has absolutely nothing to do with the main storyline, so we'll just have Clawhauser be asleep and have him wake up to Nick and Judy needing backup. Which, if you watch the original movie, isn't even how this scene plays out, but if I talked about all the plot holes that the show makes, would be here all day. On top of that, it feels like something that can only be enjoyed if you've watched the original movie, which is pretty much inevitable given when it takes place. All these cameos from Judy and Nick would just come across as random if you didn't know how these events unfolded. This is part of the reason why I think Scrat Tales works so strongly. It operates entirely independently of the previous Ice Age movies and is able to still be enjoyed and followed by people who haven't seen them before. It features completely new storylines and comedy that makes it feel fresh and unique in the franchise that it's attached to. This is just standard beyond all reason. I feel like the format they went with here could have worked better if these stories occurred in the background of these events, rather than actually connecting with them. My two favorite episodes in the show actually fell into this category. Episode 3, where we get the aftermath of Duke getting captured by Judy and questioning his life choices through that musical number, and episode 4, where we get a surprisingly compelling backstory for Mr. Big. I haven't seen The Godfather yet though, so I can't judge this episode as a parody. These stories were able to organically complement the first film without being directly connected to it, and as a result they feel distinct in this universe. Honestly, as is, it would have been better if Disney had just released this set of shorts as a bonus feature for the movie, and once again, this is what we get after 6 years of waiting for more content to stem from this movie. Talk about a letdown. It reminds me a lot of Incredibles 2 in this regard, where the time difference between these two products makes the mediocrity a bit worse. It sucks given how this is a Disney movie that actually warrants some level of continuation. I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch the show, it is pretty funny and the characters that come back are still solid, but you're really not missing out on all that much if you don't. I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10. Can't wait for the real sequel to come out.